The title of this book is Christian Paganism. We are now in part 16 of this book. It is written by our beloved brother, Frank Fowler. We are in chapter 2. We continue in chapter 2. Consider this next sentence. The social location of the church meeting expresses and influences the character of the church. If you assume that where the church gather is simply a master of convenience, you are tragically mistaken. You are overlooking a basic reality of humanity. Every building we encounter elicits a response from us by its interior and exterior. It explicitly shows us what the church is and how it functions. To put it in the word of Henry Lifebread, space is never empty. It always embodies a meaning. This principle is also expressed in the architectural motto form follow function. The form of the building reflects its particular function. The social setting of a church meeting place is a good index of that church understanding of God's purpose for his body. A church location teaches us how to meet. It teaches us what is important and what is not. And it teaches us what is acceptable to say to each other and what is not. We learn this lesson from the setting in which we gather, whether it be a church edifice or a private home. These lessons are by no means neutral. Go into any given church building and exegete the architecture. Ask yourself what objects are higher and which are lower. Ask yourself what is at the front and what is at the back. Ask yourself in what way it might be possible to adjust the direction of the meeting on the spur of the moment. Ask yourself how easy or hard it will be for a church member to speak where he is seated so that all may see and hear him. If you look at the church building setting and ask yourself this question and got an order like them, you will understand why the contemporary church has the character it does. If you ask the same set of questions about a living room, you will get a very different set of answer. You will understand why being a church in house setting in God as where the early Christian has character it does. The church social location is a crucial factor in church life. It cannot be assumed as simple as accidental truth or history. Social location can teach good and godly people very bad lesson and shock their life together. Calling attention to the importance of the social location of the church in God house or church edifice help us to understand the tremendous power of our social environment. To put a finer point on it, the church building is based on the painted idea that worship is removed from everyday life. People vary, of course, on how profoundly they emphasize that disjunction. Some groups have gone out of their way to emphasize it by insisting that worship could occur only in specific kind of spaces designed to make you feel differently than you feel in everyday life. The disjunction between worship and everyday life characterize Western Christianity. Worship is seen as something detached from the whole fabric of life and packaged for ground consumption. Centuries of Gothic architecture have taught us badly about what worship really is. Few people can walk into a powerful cathedral without experiencing the power of the space. The lighting is indirect and subtle. The ceilings are high, the colors are early and rich. Sound travel in a specific way. All these things work together to give us a sense of awake and wonder. They are designed to manipulate the sense and create a worshipful atmosphere. Some traditional add smell to the mix, but the effect is always the same. Our senses interact with our space to bring us to a particular state of the soul, a state of awake, mystery, and transcendence that equal and escape from normal life. We Protestants have replaced some of the wonder architectural embellishment with a specific use of music intended to achieve the same end. Consequently, in Protestant circle, good worship leaders are those who can use music to evoke what other tradition use space to evoke, especially a soulish sense of worshipfulness. But this is disjoint from everyday life and is inauthentic as is inauthentic. Jonathan Edward rightfully pointed out that emotions are transient and cannot be used to measure one's relationship with God. This disjunction between secular and spiritual is highlighted by the fact that a typical church building requires you to process in by walking upstairs or moving through the notice. This adds to the sense that you are moving from everyday life to another life. Thus, a transition is required. All of this fling the Monday rest. The Monday rest, no matter new good Sunday was, Monday morning still come to test our worship. Watch a choir don't their robe before the church service. They smile, laugh, and even joke. But once the service starts, they become different people. You will not often catch them smiling or laughing. The false separation of secular and sacred, this stained glass mystic of Sunday morning church, fly in the face of truth and reality. In addition, the church building is far less warm, personal, and friendly than someone's home. The organic meeting place of the early Christian. The church building is not designed for intimacy, nor worship, nor fellowship. In most church buildings, the seating consists of wooden pew bolted to the floor. The pew or chair are arranged in row, all facing toward the pulpit. The pulpit sits on an elevated platform, which is often where the clergy also sit, remaining of the Roman basilica. This arrangement makes it nearly impossible for one worshipper to look into the face of another. Instead, it creates sit and soak form of worship that turn functioning Christian into pure potatoes. To start it differently, the architecture emphasizes fellowship between God and his people via the pastor. Yet despite this fact, we Christians still treat the building as if it is sacred. Granted, you may object to the idea that the church building is hallowed, but God, for most of us, our action and word betray our belief. Listen to Christians speak of the church building. Listen to yourself as you speak of it. Do you ever hear it referred to as church? Do you ever hear it spoken of as God's house? The general consensus amongst Christians of all denominations is that a church is essentially a place set apart for worship. This has been true for the last 1,700 years. Constantine is still living and written in our mind.